name's Judy and welcome back to a new video, and welcome to the final day of bookmas. I honestly cannot believe I am saying that because this month has absolutely flown by. Now, did bookmas go to plan? No, it did not. However, I feel like I am proud of myself because I actually saw it all the way through. I did 12 uploads before Christmas, which I am so proud of because I don't think I've ever done that before, and it was not easy, let me tell you that. I stumbled into some technical difficulties as well as getting sick for 2 weeks, which pushed my filming back. And yeah, this video has gone up 2 days later, I think, than it should have, or 1 day later. And there was some kind of like faff with the last 2 bookmas videos, but I hope you guys have been enjoying them nevertheless. And that means you are seeing this video on Christmas Eve, so if you do celebrate Christmas, I hope you're having a wonderful Christmas Eve and you have a lovely Christmas. I honestly can't believe like we're here already. Like honestly, it is kind of scaring me and stressing me out a little bit because what do you mean it's 2025 in like a week or so? My mind is blown. But anyway, I'm here today to do the end of year book tag. Now, I have never done this tag before and I'm very excited to do it. Now, I know there are different versions of this tag floating about, and I saw Larry from Larry Reads do this, and I decided to just take some of the questions from her like video and do some of those because some of them I didn't really have answers to. This has probably been my worst reading year since I started my channel for a multitude of different reasons I won't get into, but it has not been a good year for me reading wise. So some questions I have taken out and I've created my own kind of list from the questions that she had. So let me consult the laptop and let's get into the tag. So the first question is the most disappointing book of the year. Now, I'm going to answer this with a couple of books, but that's not to say that these books weren't enjoyable. I still did enjoy these books and they were still great reads and I would still recommend them. However, I just expected to rate them higher than I did. So the first book is A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saff. This was actually one of the first books I think I finished in 2024. And I don't know, I just really was so excited for this and I expected to give it like a 4-star rating, maybe even higher, and unfortunately it was a 3-star. It was a solid 3, which is absolutely not a bad rating. Like I still very much enjoyed this book, it was still a good time. However, it just didn't wow me. Like, I don't know, I was expecting the whimsy and the magic of Once Upon a Broken Heart, like very, you know, decadent and like fairy tale-esque and full of grandeur, and I just didn't really get that with this book. Like, yes, it was whimsical, but it just wasn't as whimsical as I thought it was going to be, as magical. I felt like the world could have been developed more, and this was a standalone, so I do understand that there was a lot to achieve with it being a standalone, but I just don't really feel like we got there. Like, I feel like I needed to know more about the magic. I wanted more from it, and I just was left wanting more. However, I did still enjoy this. The romance was really cute. I wanted more from the romance as well. And yeah, just ultimately I wanted more from this book. But it is really fun. The magic is really unique because our main character can sew like emotions and stuff into like clothes. So if she sewed in like sadness into the clothes, then the person who wore it would feel sad and that kind of thing. So it was really interesting, and there was a little bit of like a political plot to this very subtly in the background, and there was like a bit of a rebellion, and yeah, it was just a really fun little YA fantasy with a unique magic, but it still needed a little bit more. So yeah, unfortunately I did feel like this was a little bit disappointing. And then the other book is The Witch Collector, which I do have but I'm too lazy to go and grab. So I read this one during Vampathon. Now, I did really enjoy this book. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. I read this quite quickly, but I was expecting this to be like a 4 or 5-star rating, and I think I gave it like a 3 or a 3.5. It just didn't hit for me. Like, I did not buy their chemistry. Like, the romance in this just didn't work for me. Like, I was just enjoying the world and the plot in general. The romance didn't really have me like kicking my feet or giggling or swooning, and when all of those things are happening, that's when I know I'm into a romance, and those things were not happening. With this book, I just didn't buy their romance at all. I didn't really feel the chemistry. I didn't really get how we got from her wanting to kill him to the way it ended. Like, I just I don't understand how we got there. And I don't know, it just felt flat. Like, I feel like this had been hyped up to be so much more and it just wasn't. And yeah, I did still really, really enjoy it. Like, it was still a really fun book. I really loved the fantasy world. This had a very wintry setting, which I don't really read too much of my fantasy books, so I really, really enjoyed that element. And I did enjoy the character progression and kind of like the exploration of different things within this world, even though a lot of it does take place kind of in the same place. But it was just because it's a fantasy romance and the romance didn't hit for me. It was really disappointing. I really thought I was going to be obsessed with this book, but sadly I was not. So those are my two like most disappointing reads, but I did still really enjoy them. So the next question is, what was an underdog book? So for this one, I have a book that I'm also going to talk about for some of the other questions. So there are going to be some repeats in here because I did not read a lot of books this year. So I'm sorry if you're seeing the same book pop up for a few of these questions. But the underdog of the year for me had to be The God and the Gummy Hoe by Sophie Kim. I feel like this is so slapped on. I feel like all of you should go and read this book immediately, especially if you are like a K-drama or C-drama girly. You will love this. Like, this book, so good. Like, it is a K-drama in a book. It is so good. It has a lot of Korean mythology in it. Now, I don't know anything really about Korean mythology, so the author does a really good job of building up the world and explaining that lore and that myth to you without it being like over the top or too much. It's just done in such a way that is just really, really easy to understand and to get into. And essentially in this, we have our main character, Kim Hanny, and she is a gummy hoe, and she is actually like this notorious gummy hoe that is the reason why certain laws exist in this world, but no one knows that's her true identity. And she kind of ends up killing some men and now our fallen god is hunting her whilst also hunting this demon. So in order to divert suspicions from herself, she ends up working with him to find this demon and also divert his attention from her real identity. And a lot of stuff happens along the way. These two really hate each other. Like, they really can't stand each other at all. Like, the first time we see her interact with him, she quite literally dumps an entire coffee on him. And they just absolutely loathe each other. They are both extremely grumpy. So this is definitely grumpy meets grumpy. Our fallen god is obsessed with coffee. And there is like a magical coffee shop in here. So it will make you crave coffee, and it is also an urban fantasy, and we have like reapers and stuff in here as well. We have Gummy Ho, who are nine-tailed foxes. We have a whole different cast of different characters, and there are just so many good things in this book. The romance, so good, so good. This is like an Unlikely Alliance kind of vibe as well. Like, this book had me crying, it had me giggling, it had me gasping, it had me doing every emotion you can think of. This book was so good. And I just don't understand why more people don't read it. Like, it is so funny. The main character is absolutely hilarious in this book. And I just loved it so much. And the mystery as well, it's very much like got a subtle murder mystery in it. And it's very high stakes. And I just really, really enjoyed this book. And I would highly recommend it. And I feel like enough people don't read it. And like, I feel like the amount of tabs I have put in this book really do speak for it. You can tell there's like a little bit where I kind of just stopped tabbing because I was just so engrossed in the book. But yeah, I definitely say this is like the underdog and is a very slept on fantasy book. And it is an adult fantasy as well. So the next one is, what was an overhyped book that I read? Now, I heard Larry talk about this in her video where she said she hates the phrase overhyped because books generally aren't like overhyped. Like, when people talk about an overhyped book, it's simply just hyped. Like, a lot of people like it and it's just popular, and it's because people enjoy it collectively. Now, I also agree with that sentiment. I don't really like the phrase overhyped, however I do use it and I have used it. That's besides the point. The overhyped book for me was The Wren in the Holly Library by K.A. Linde. Now, I did still enjoy this, but this to me was hyped up to be this incredible romantasy with like a heist, and just like it was going to be my next obsession, and it just wasn't. Did I enjoy this book? Yes. Was it entertaining? Yes. But this did not really read like romantasy for me. It felt very, very juvenile and just not romantasy vibes. It was more just like a heist with romance, and I don't know, just something about this just didn't really do it for me. I just expected so much more, especially because people were really, really hyping this book up to me a lot, and it was a solid 3 for me. Like, I did enjoy it, but it just was missing something, and I don't know what that something was. Like, it just was disappointing. That's the best way to describe this. Like, I just really wanted this to be a 5-star, and it was a 3-star, and I just didn't really feel very thrilled with the heist aspect. I didn't really buy into the romance too much. I feel like I needed more backstory. I feel like I needed more groveling. I just feel like I needed more, and I just feel like this was so hyped that it just fell so flat for me, unfortunately. So I don't even think I'm going to pick up the next one, because the way this ended, I didn't like. I really hated the ending of this, and it didn't leave me with a feeling really of wanting to pick up the next book. So I honestly don't think I'll be continuing this, which is so sad because I had such high hopes for this book. But again, that is not to say that this is not a good book. I would still recommend this because a 3 stars is still a good rating. It still means I had a fun time, and some people will probably read this and it will be 5 stars for them. That is why reading is great. It is subjective. We all like and dislike different things. But for me, this was just overhyped and it didn't hit the way I thought it was going to hit. Okay, so next we have a book that surprised you. Now I have 2 books for this. So the first one is Lights Out by Navessa Allen. Now this one, definitely my top books of the year. I listened to this via audio and I'm so glad I did, because the narrator, I think his name's like Jacob Morgan, I want him to narrate every single love interest from now onwards, because oh my god, so good. This audiobook I would highly recommend if you're looking for a dark romance. Now I don't really know what my relationship is with dark romance. I feel like I may have tried to enter that genre a little too harshly, because this is a dark romance and I love this, and I never thought I would say that. So I have tried to read in the past Haunting Adeline and Rena Kent, and I didn't finish either of them because I really enjoyed them, but I was just like, had this internal battle in my brain of like, I shouldn't be enjoying this, I shouldn't be enjoying this, which there's nothing wrong with enjoying those things, but like I just kept thinking about in real life I would hate this, and that was constantly in my mind, and it kept taking me out of the story, and there were certain things that were too dark in those books, and I think it's because I went from 0 to 100. I should have started off with like things like this where it's dark romance but it's not too dark. Like if you've read this and you've read other dark romances, you know what I mean. And I just went from 0 to 100 real quick and literally just like dived in at the deep end, rather than, you know, wading in the shore a little bit first, dipping my toes in and gradually making my way to the deeper part once I'd learned to swim, you know. But I didn't do that, and I definitely do want to give those books another go in the future now, because I really enjoyed this and I just feel like I need to ease myself into the genre, and like this book was just so good. Like this had me questioning myself so much. Essentially, this is about a guy who stalks our main character, but she is like also obsessed with him, but she doesn't know like that he's her stalker yet. So basically, she is obsessed with thirst traps of masked men online, and she is obsessed with this one guy in particular. She's a trauma nurse, and she always watches his videos, like she loves them, and he notices her one day and he becomes obsessed with her. He stalks her, he puts cameras in her house, and yeah. But he's also a cinnamon roll, which is a little insane of me to say, but he is. If you've read this, you know. Like, he is a thoughtful stalker. Like, he's just so sweet, and I don't know, I really love this book. Plus there's like a little bit of mindfuck vibes in this. Now that is kind of a dark, well, it is a dark romance because she's a serial killer. That is one of my favourite series of all time, but it's not dark romance in the same way some other books are. But this to me had those vibes because there is a bit of murder in here, and for some reason it gave me mindful vibes. I don't know, but I really loved this book so much. Like, it really took me by surprise how much I loved this, and I cannot wait to read this author's next book. I have a few books that I've been recommended since reading this one that are also dark romance that I'm definitely going to be going into soon, so if you do have any recommendations, please leave them down below. But this one, yeah, go and read this if you like dark romance, but check the trigger warnings. And then the next one that took me by surprise is Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. This one I had on many a TBR and never got to, and I finally read it back in September, October, and I can't remember what I rated this. I wasn't like obsessed with it. It's not a new favourite read, but it took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. Like, I enjoyed this so much more than I thought I was going to. I do enjoy a short story, especially like a reimagining of a fairy tale, and this one was just really fun and entertaining, and it had like a kind of a whimsical-ish vibe, and I don't know, I just had fun with it. It was just really, really nice. And if you're looking for a really short read, especially for the end of the year, if you're trying to hit your reading goal, I feel like this is a great one. It is entertaining, the pace stays the same throughout, and it was just a really, really fun time. So the next question is your favourite book couples of the year. Now, this one's a bit tricky because there weren't really any new book couples that I was like absolutely obsessed with, but I know that there will be, if that makes sense, later in series. So maybe skip this section because I'm aware that this could be spoilery. I don't really know if this borders on spoilers or not, but I'll put the time on the screen anyway just to be on the safe side. So the first one is Rune and Gideon in The Crimson Moth by Kristen Cicerelli. I really like this couple. It was a game of cat and mouse. It was true enemies to lovers, but I just really like them. I really bought into them as a couple, and I just really like their dynamic of kind of trying to resist actually falling for one another, playing cat and mouse, and it was just very entertaining. And I don't know, I just really, really like them as a couple. I think they're just like stunning together. I mean, just look at them. Yep. So I would have to say them. And then I do also have to repeat from this one, our main couple in this, just their chemistry, everything, the pacing of their romance and how it developed made sense. It was good, it was entertaining, it did have me swooning, giggling. It had so many cute tropes, like micro tropes in here that I know a lot of you would love, and it did have me swooning. So I really, really loved this book couple. And then I do also want to mention in this, which I will be using to answer another question. Now, the couple isn't established in this yet because it is the first book in the series, and I have started the second book, but I know that they are the couple, and I know I'm going to be obsessed with them. So are they a couple yet? No. But I did want to say them as an honourable mention because I just know the romance is going to hit. It is a slow burn, and I'm already here for it. The fact that I love this book as much as I did, and we've literally gotten crumbs of the romance, says a lot, speaks volumes. I'm obsessed with this. This is definitely for the Sarah J Maas girlies. Go and read this book. And to continue on to the next question, new favourite authors of the year, definitely Penn Cole, and this is after reading one singular book by this author so far. Love this book. The entire book just had me obsessed. I just love the world. I love the characters. I love the writing style, the pacing, the politics, the magic, everything. Everything about this was so good, and I am honestly just so excited to continue reading this series. I just think this is one of those books that doesn't have the same plotline as like a Sarah J Maas book, but it kind of just feels like one. I don't really know why. I don't know the science behind that, and I've definitely seen other creators say the same thing, but it really does feel like something Sarah J Maas fans would love. And I don't know if it's just because it's kind of really got, you can tell there's going to be a very big scope of this fantasy world, and there's going to be a lot more characters introduced and just a lot more to discover. But I just really, really love this so much, and I just love this author's writing, and I can just see this becoming like a favourite series. So I would definitely have to say Penn Cole. And then I would also have to say Callie Hart. Now, have I finished Quicksilver? No, I have not. Is this probably going to become one of my new favourite books and my literal hyperfixation, and am I probably going to change my entire personality around this book? Yeah. Yeah, I am. As soon as I finish this book, I'm going to become insufferable. I am going to be shoving this on everyone's throats as if it isn't already, because it is a very hyped book. But honestly, I am currently 163 pages in, a quarter of the way through. I'm obsessed. This writing style, I don't know what is in it, but I'm obsessed, I'm addicted, I cannot get enough. From the first page. Like, usually with romantasy, especially romantasy this freaking long, you've got a lot of like chapters with just build up, world building, and all of that stuff. This one threw me straight into the action, had me gasping, had me on the floor from the first page. Like, I honestly don't know how Callie Hart does it, but I understood the main character and the world immediately, and I feel like that is so hard to do with a fantasy book. And like I said, I'm only a quarter of the way through, but I'm obsessed with this book, and I love her writing so much. It's very rare that a fantasy book has me hooked from the first page, and it consumes my thoughts and I cannot stop thinking about it. But this book is doing it, and I'm literally like barely made a dent into it. So I definitely did want to mention this because I just know Kelly Hart is going to become an all-time fave author of mine. Another one that I do want to recommend, but I don't have the book to hand, is Anne Liang. So I've only read one book this year by this author, which was This Time It's Real, I think it's called. But this is a YA romance, and I loved this. I thought the writing was absolutely beautiful, and I just loved everything about this book. I read it super quickly earlier this year, and I just feel like I'm gonna love all of this author's books. I do have her other YA novels, and I also have her new adult fantasy, but I just have not read them yet. But based off that book and how much I loved it, I have a very good feeling about her other books. So I would definitely say Anne Liang is a new author that I'm probably going to become obsessed with. And then Lucy Jane Wood. Now, this again is going to pop up in the answer to another one of these questions. I love Lucy Jane Wood's writing. It is so good. This is exactly the kind of writing I like in a fantasy. It is just descriptive, lyrical, relatable, and just beautiful. Like, I just love this writing style. If you've read this book, you know exactly what I mean. There's lots of descriptions of like the setting, of smells, of tastes, of everything. Like, I really love descriptive writing where it will say something like, you know, snow dusted the rooftops like sugar. Things like that I love in my fantasy books, especially more like this kind of fantasy, which just has a very cozy and calming feel to it. I just loved her writing so much, and this book just felt like home. I loved it so much. So that leads me on again to the next question, which is what book made me happy? Like, what was the happiest book I read? Now, that's not to say that this book is a happy book. It's not to say that it's not a happy book, but it made me feel happy because I read this at such a perfect time. I related so much to our main character, and it made me feel seen. It made me feel happy. It's also set during one of my favourite times of year, which is autumn and Halloween. So this takes place throughout October and on Halloween, and that just made me unbelievably happy. I did also read this during September and October, so the vibes were just vibing, and I just felt so happy reading this book. I loved it so much, and I will not shut up about this book. Everyone should go and read it. It is cozy, it is cute, it is wholesome, it is magical, it is witchy, it is all of the things. And there is a bookshop in here called Luna Books. Our main character is a bookseller. She was also a witch, and it is just so good. There's also some trials in here, and I just loved it. Like, from start to finish, this was a great book, and I just feel like everyone should go and read this. I feel like you could read this any time of year, but I feel like September, October is the best time to read it because, like I said, it does take place during October, and, you know, the witchy autumnal vibes are at their peak, and this book was just so good. Okay, so the saddest book I read this year wasn't really a sad one. Now, originally, I did want to talk about, like, this non-fiction book that I read, but that was sad for a different reason, so I'm not going to. But I will mention this one, which is The Crimson Moth again. Now, this was not a sad book. However, it has a moment in this book which is sad and made me cry. And I don't cry at books too often, but this one did have the tears really flowing. The tissues were being used, you know. I was snotty. Like, I was crying my eyes out at a specific scene in this book. Now, if you've read it, then you know what I'm talking about. That took me by surprise, and yeah, it was very emotional. So I would say this is the saddest, but the book overall isn't a sad one. Well, I guess it is if you're looking at the fact that, like, witches are being killed and they're just, you know, women trying to survive. But yeah, like, this book definitely would have to be the one I'd choose, but I didn't really read any sad books, so yeah, do with that what you will. So next is favourite covers of the year, and again we've got some repeaters, so I would have to say probably Rewitched, because look at this cover. Even the US cover as well is stunning, but I just love this. I'm obsessed. I also really love the Quicksilver cover as well. Pretty much every single Fairy Loot cover, so like the Crimson Moth is a really great example, you know, Fragile Enchantment. These are the ones I just have to hand. Like, every single Fairy Loot book is my favourite cover. And I would probably also have to say, I'm trying to look on my shelf behind you. I would also have to say this Fairy Loot one of the Half King. I just love purple and gold together. I think this is so pretty. But honestly, there are too many. I have too many. So the next question is a book you haven't stopped thinking about. Now, honestly, there weren't really any books that did that for me this year, except for this one so far, and I've not finished it. I know, but It's not the end of the year yet. I have not finished this, and I am hoping to finish this before the end of the year, but this book, when I'm not reading it, I can't stop thinking about it, and all I want to do is be reading it when I'm not. And yeah, it's just this one. This is probably the one book this year that has really given me those feelings of, this is why I love fantasy, this is why I love reading, this is why I love escapism through books. This is the book that's doing it for me, and that I just cannot stop thinking about. And I know long after I finish reading this book, I'm going to be feeling the exact same way. So I would have to say this one. This is just going to be my new obsession, guys. I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'm fully in love with this book at the moment. So the next question is a book with the most unique concept, and that has to be The Temptation of Magic by Megan Scott. This is criminally underhyped. Go and read this. It is so good. If you're looking for a fantasy book with a brand new concept and mythical creature, this is the book for you. This is so unbelievably original. It has an entire new kind of like paranormal supernatural creature called an Imperial, I think was what it was called. I can't remember off the top of my head. Is it an Imperial? Yeah, an Imperial. So our main character Nicole is an Imperial, basically the top of the food chain when it comes to supernatural creatures. And the concept of this creature is so unique, so well done, so magical. I loved it. Plus we have a romance, and it's basically he's hunting her. He doesn't really know it, and she's trying to keep her identity a secret, because if he finds out, let's just say it's not going to end well. So yeah, this is so good. The romance, they're so bad. It is, I love it. I love it, and it's just so unique. We have cobblestone streets in Cornwall, and a really gothic manor house, and all the coastal dark academia vibes, and this really interesting world with so much mythology. There's a lot of Celtic mythology in here, and also another really unique concept in here is that these paintings that exist in this world are also supernatural in and of themselves and play a part in the plot. Now, have you ever heard of a fantasy book with that? I will wait, because no, you have not. This book is so original and unique, and it is so good. Like the romance, the setting, the magic and the world, and all the different creatures and characters that exist in here are all so well done. And seriously guys, go and read this book if you haven't already. Also, like, look at all my tabs. Does that not kind of speak for how good this book is? It is so underrated, and this is definitely a book you should all be putting on your TBRs for next year. I promise you will love it, and you will thank me later. Okay, so books I've read this year that I would reread. Honestly, I don't know. I would probably have to go with Rewitched again, just because, like I said, it felt like home. It made me feel things, and I really loved it. Again, Quicksilver. Honestly, I'm sorry, I'm just repeating the same books, but there weren't really many that gave me that feeling this year. Like, those two books, Quicksilver so far, and then Rewitched, really just did it for me, and I would definitely read them again. But that's not to say I might not read some of these again. Like Lights Out, I'm Looking at You, I would maybe pick up the audiobook for this again, because Jacob Morgan. Yeah. Okay, and now we're on to the Goodreads 2024 reading goal reflection and reading goals for 2025. So I have made my reading goal for this year 50 books. I don't know what it was. I think it might have been 75 at the start of the year, and I lowered it to 50. I have not hit it yet. I still have 6 books to go, which I'm hoping is still doable in the rest of this month, but we shall see. But this has been the worst reading slump and the worst reading year of my life. Like, there were some months I read one singular book, and that was it. I had severe burnout this year. I was in a slump. I was in a life slump. Lots of things going on, and I just have not had the same relationship or connection with books because of those things. And I feel I am coming out of it now, but I went from reading like 10 to 20 books a month in like 2020, 2021, gradually started to slow down a bit as I got busier with life again, but to like reading one book a month is just insane. And I've just not had a very good reading year. I have not read a lot of the books I wanted to. I just have not really gotten to a lot of good books this year, unfortunately. Like, I've still had great reads, but nothing like previous years where there's been multiple favourites. And I feel like I am going to struggle to pick a top 10 this year, so yeah, that kind of does suck, but my reading year has not been good. So 2025, I have a lot to make up for. I really want 2025 to be the year that I just get my mojo back, that I really just read all the books I really want to read and have a fantastic reading year. and just make the time for reading again, because that is one thing I definitely have neglected this year. And yeah, I blame K-dramas for that, I can't lie. But yes, next year I'm definitely going to be getting back into reading again and making the time for it. And obviously I do have so much more time now for it, so I'm very much looking forward to that in 2025. Now, I did write some goals down in my notes on my laptop, so I'm trying to see what they are. I don't have my glasses on, so this does need to be really close. Oh yeah, I definitely do want to venture into other genres as well next year. So I really want to explore more of romantasy. I have so many romantasy books on my shelf, and I love romantasy. I love fantasy worlds and I love romance. So the two together is my perfect, like, you know, ideal. Now, there's certain books that are like romantasy that are just pure smut and spice. And then there's romantasy like this one where we have actual fantasy with romance and a fantasy plot. And I think sometimes, like, people, they think romantasy and they automatically just think smut and spice. And for some people, maybe that's what romantasy is. But for me, it's not. For me, it's this, where we have a world, we have a plot. There's been, like, no spice in this, pretty much. I don't think there was, anyway. And this is still considered to be a romantasy series. So that is the kind of romantasy that I love. And that is the kind of romantasy I really want to read more of next year. Like I said, I have so many romantasy books on my shelf that I really want to get to next year. And then I also want to explore more books out my comfort zone. So I read this month and loved it so much. Now, like I said, this is a dark romance. So I really want to explore this genre. And like I said, rewinding it back, reeling it back in, and starting with the basics, starting with those that are just kind of dipping my toe into the genre. So some of the ones I think I have some down here. So I'm pretty sure this is a dark romance, and this one I have been recommended after reading this, which is There Are No Saints. And I think Black, Bread and Butter is technically a dark romance, but like on the edge. So like I want to read books like this first and then progress more into the genre and see if I like it. Maybe this is like my threshold, maybe this is all I want to read, I don't know, but I want to explore that in 2025. And I also potentially want to read more thrillers, because I just don't read those like ever, and I do have some of those on my shelves. So those are kind of like the main things for 2025, and just simply to read good books. I don't care about the quantity, it's definitely quality. And I feel like I haven't been reading the best quality books. Like, not to say that I've been reading bad books, but I just feel like there are so many books on my shelves that are anticipated 5-star reads for me, and I just need to give them a go. I know there are so many 5-star reads out there for me, so hopefully I can make that happen next year. Hopefully next year is just hit after hit after hit, but we shall see. And the last thing is books you wish you got to this year. Now, there aren't any particulars coming off the top of my head, because I have like just so many, like literally everything on my shelves that's unread I wish I got to this year. But things like this series, I really wish I'd gotten to this year, but this is definitely on my priority list for 2025. And then also finishing series, that was going to be one of my goals this year, and I've just not done that at all. I don't think I've finished a single series. So I really want to finish the Zodiac Academy series, because I'm only up to book 5 on that, so I would love to finish that next year and prioritise it. And finally, prioritising my Throne of Glass reread, and then finishing this series, because I have still not finished this series. I am terrified to finish that series, plus also just don't want to, because then it's over forever, and that just makes me sad. So yeah, I think next year is finally the year to wrap up both of those series, 2 all-time favourite series, but the time has come. 2025 is going to be the year I am putting it out there into the universe, into the ether, into the YouTube sphere. I am going to finish both of those series next year. They are my priority. If we get to June and I've not made any progress on either of them, please scream at me in the comments and tell me to go and finish those series, because I want to prioritise doing that. I love them both, I miss the worlds, and I just need to do that. So those are like my main priorities for next year. But honestly, it's just to have a really good reading year and to get the reading done and to just have fun. So yeah, that is my end of year book tag. Like I said, this is kind of a little bit chaotic because I didn't do like the traditional one, and shout out to Larry for these questions, because I literally just watched her video and I was like, yeah, those are the questions I'm going with. I can answer some of those. Even with my poor reading year, I can make that work. So yeah, I did get the questions from that video, but there are so many end of year book tags out there that you guys can go with. And yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video and you have enjoyed Bookmas this year. Thank you guys so much for watching all of my Bookmas content. I was very nervous to put it all out there, and every single comment, like, interaction has meant so much to me. And yeah, whenever anyone comments on my videos or tags me in an Instagram story of my videos, you have no idea how happy that makes me. Like, seriously, I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. Like, I think I speak for all creators how much that means to us, and like how such a small gesture can mean such a big thing to us. So if you ever take the time to comment, to like a video, to subscribe, to tag me in an Instagram story, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It just means so much and I really appreciate you guys, and thank you all for entering into the giveaways. I really hope you have enjoyed all of the videos I've been putting out and all of the giveaways. And again, there is another giveaway for this video. There is in fact two. So one is a little bookish bundle, which is going to be a surprise, so there'll be a special edition. There might be an ARC and just some bookish goodies. And then the second prize is that I will be choosing someone's wish list to gift from. So all you need to do to enter either of these is to leave a red love heart emoji in the comments. You can enter both. So if you just want to enter for the little surprise bookish bundle, then just leave the little red love heart emoji in the comments. But if you would like to just do the Amazon one, leave the red love heart emoji and your Amazon link. And if you would like to enter both, leave 2 red heart emojis and your Amazon link. So yes, that's what you have to comment. And then the only other things you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and if you have an Instagram and TikTok account, make sure you're following my accounts. I will be checking all these things, and do all of this by the 25th of December because I will be choosing winners after Christmas. So yes, if you would like to enter the giveaway, I will leave all the information in a pinned comment down below, and you'll find any info in the description box. I'll also link all the books I've mentioned in the description box so you guys can check them out if you would like to. Feel free to answer any of these questions in the comments. I would love to see what your answers would be to any of the questions I've featured in this tag. Feel free to chat in the comments about them. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on any of these books or any book recs you have, what books you're excited to read next year, what your favourites of the year were. Let's talk about all of the books down below in the comments. And if you were looking for any extra content from me, then you can find that over on my Patreon. It's always linked in my description box, and that is where you can find early access to my videos. You will find my end of year, beginning of 2025 posting like schedule, all the videos I'm planning to do. I'm going to be filming my bookshelf tour, so there's going to be early access to that over on Patreon. There's also a monthly readathon, a bi-monthly book club, a Discord, reading sprints, behind the scenes photos, and discount codes for my Etsy store, and lots of other things. So if you were ever interested in any of that, you can head to the link down below. I would absolutely love to have you guys join me there in my little community. But thank you guys so much for watching Bookmas 2024. I really hope you have a wonderful Christmas and a wonderful end to your 2024, and I'm so excited to continue on this little journey with you guys in 2025. There will still be at least one more, maybe 2 more videos coming before the end of the year. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're all safe and well. I hope you're reading lots of good books, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Feeling alone, kinda misty, waiting now for you to come. It's cold.